Hi everyone! Welcome to Magical Vegan Kitchen. My name is Megan and today we're going to make biscuits! I didn't do a breakdown for calories or cost this video because I figured that it's pretty easy and cheap to make biscuits. All of the ingredients are, depending on what type of flour you use, can be either cheap or it can be more expensive, especially if you're using like gluten-free flour. I don't like to think about the calories in biscuits. I just like to eat them. So I didn't want to know how many calories biscuits are because it makes 12 and I eat like 6 of them. So your ingredients for today are flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, non-dairy butter, vinegar, and non-dairy milk. Your tools for today are a baking sheet, a silicone mat or parchment paper, a bowl, a fork, a liquid measure, a 1/4 teaspoon dry measure, a 1 teaspoon wet measure, and a 1 tablespoon measure. But your most important tool today is a biscuit cutter. Step 1, heat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to preheat the oven to 450. Step 2, curdle 1 cup non-dairy milk with 1 teaspoon vinegar or lemon juice. We're going to curdle our milk first. I pour a cup of milk in my measure right here. And then you take a teaspoon of vinegar. You could also use lemon juice, that's fine too. Okay. Oop, it's a little too much. Alright, there we go. And I'm just going to put it in my milk, and what I'm doing is curdling it so that it's kind of like buttermilk for our biscuits. Step 3, mix 2 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, and 3/4 teaspoon salt. For my dry ingredients, I'm going to measure out 2 cups of flour. And it's important when you're measuring dry goods for baking that you make sure it's even. So I just take the stem of a utensil and even out the top there. It's 1. And we need 2. Make it a mess. Alright, 2. And now I need 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And again, you want to make sure that dry goods are even with the I'm at the end of my canister here. Good enough. Okay, so 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Next we add our 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Be good if I actually slid this so it was the right. Okay, there we go. Okay, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda. Alright, so we're going to mix all this dry together, and then we will cut in our earth balance. Step 4, cut in 4 tablespoons of non-dairy butter. So it's important that your butter is cold. That's like a key part of biscuit making. So I have the kind that's in a tub. So I have this tablespoon measure, and I'm just going to measure out 4 tablespoons of earth balance, or whatever non-dairy butter or dairy butter if you're not vegan. So now I'm just going to use my fork, oops, and shove my hand in the flour. I'm going to use my fork to cut in, if you can see, the butter. So my goal is to kind of just do this sort of pressing, pushing motion, drawing the flour and the butter together and around the bowl so that you don't have pieces that are just flour. I mean, you might or you will, but you know what I mean. You're trying to incorporate the butter and the flour. Mix it up really nice so that you have some fluffy, buttery biscuits. Alright, so we have our butter incorporated in our flour, and now I'm going to add the curdled milk. Step 5, add milk and mix till you have dough. As you can see, it looks kind of scary in there. because it's curdling. And we're just gonna dump that right in there and mix everything together. Okay, so the first rule is not to overwork your dough. So you want to incorporate everything to where it's mixed, but you don't want to stir and stir and stir and stir and stir. Okay? It's important for our big fluffy biscuits. Okay, and this is where I abandon my fork. If you're squeamish about getting your hands dirty, then you can keep using the fork or a spoon or a spatula or whatever. I like to use my hands, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my hand to sort of just incorporate everything, trying again not to knead too much, just trying to get everything into a solid, mostly together piece of dough. I'm doing a really bad job showing this. So just gonna kind of move it around. Again, try not to manhandle it too much. It's a very important step. Okay, so once you're like barely incorporated, okay, we're gonna scrape all the dough off our fingers and put some flour on my cutting board here, and we're going to make our biscuit shapes to put on the pan. And the pan that you're gonna use is a baking sheet, and if you have a silk pat, that's great. I hope that's how you pronounce that thing. Otherwise, parchment paper. I wouldn't advise foil.
Step 6, prepare surface by dusting with flour.
Great, so I floured my board here and made a huge mess, which is part of the process, guys. So, you know, get your broom out and whatever, because there's going to be flour everywhere.
Step 7, gently and lovingly pat your dough into a disc.
Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your dough and you're going to set it on your prepared cutting board right here, okay? And so you might be thinking, where is my roller? We don't need no rollers, guys. We're going to pat this down, okay? Because, again, we're trying not to manhandle too much. And if you have to use some flour to keep it, you know, keep your hand from sticking to your dough, then you go ahead and do that. I'm just going to move that over there. Okay, so there's our beautiful, beautiful biscuit dough. And we don't want to make them too thin. You should get about 12 biscuits out of this. So we're just kind of massaging it into a shape. There we go.
Step 8, cut biscuits and place on a baking sheet. Step 9, gently press your finger into the center of your biscuits because of magic! Step 10, melt butter and brush on top of your beautiful biscuits.
Okay, so we have our handy dandy biscuit cutter, which I should have made a pile of flour for. Just do that, okay? You're going to flour the end bit there so it doesn't stick too badly, or at all, hopefully. And you're just going to cut, and this twisting motion right here is what severs the dough from the other dough. And you're going to take your beautiful biscuit, you're going to put it on your pan, which is up here. There it is, okay? And so what you're going to do is you're going to put an indent in your biscuit. And I melted some earth balance, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my finger. If you have a pastry brush, use a pastry brush, but I don't have one, so I'm going to use my fingers. And you just want to lightly coat with some earth balance and make sure to get in that little divot right there. Alright, so we're going to get like 2 more biscuits out of this, and then it's into the oven. Gonna make a Franken biscuit, alright. You ready to see this Franken biscuit nonsense? Good enough. See why I said it's the best biscuit? It's the biggest biscuit. I'm gonna put that one right there and into the oven for 10 to 12 minutes.
Step 11, wait patiently for 10 to 12 minutes while your biscuits transform.
As you can see, my biscuits are puffing up, looking good. We still have a couple minutes before they're golden brown and delicious. And here's our biscuits, all done and tasty and delicious. My biscuits are going to be turned into sandwiches, but they go well with earth balance and jelly and peanut butter and pretty much anything you can think of. Yay, biscuits!
That's how you make biscuits. If you have any questions or comments,
feel free to leave them down below, or you can tweet at me at magicalvegan. This time I baked something. I think next time I might try and make a dessert, since I've been focusing on savory soups for the most part, or noodles. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to let me know, because I like suggestions. And yeah, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy the biscuits that you're going to make after watching this video. Yay, biscuits! So, tip, make sure your baking soda isn't expired, because my biscuits look a little sad and a little flat because my baking soda expired, and I didn't think baking soda could expire, but apparently it does. And you end up with kind of delicious but flat, non-fluffy biscuits. So yeah, make sure to check the expiration dates on your baking soda.